Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 3 as I attempt to take the nation of Greece and reconquer what was the Byzantine Empire. If you did not see the first 2 episodes, there's a link in the description below that will take you back to episode 1. This is about a once-a-week campaign that I'm on right now, and I don't expect it'll take more than maybe 5 episodes to complete, but we'll see how long it takes to take the next steps. We've conquered most of the Balkan region. I've left a couple of nations alone for now because there's really just not a lot to be gained by taking them until I have to. It's a lot of time that would be wasted that could be better spent taking out some of the larger countries. So I've now turned my attention to one of the big prizes, and that is Italy. I've begun the process of justifying a war against Italy, and that'll probably be done late in the year, November 4th. They have actually a relatively small army, only between 16 and 24 divisions, which means that they're a little smaller than me. And not a lot of manpower either, so I expect it won't be that difficult with the air power that I have to be able to take them on. Once world tension gets high enough, if it gets high enough, I'll be able to start adding some allies. I do have the national focus that allows me to create a faction. Looks like Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, and Hungary have all joined the EU, so that may be a problem for me at some point. But Italy is not part of NATO. And actually very few nations are still a part of NATO. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick. You can see Hungary is, and then of course you have Poland, Germany, France, Belgium, the UK, and Turkey. Turkey's going to be a tricky one for me. I'm hoping that by the time I turn my attention to them, they will no longer be a part of NATO, but for now that's not the case. So we'll press along here. We'll prepare for the invasion of Italy. My manpower is down to very nearly nothing because I lost a lot of manpower defeating Austria. Even though it was a relatively quick fight, I did lose a lot of men in the process. Well, no sooner had they joined the European Union than Latvia has left the European Union. Not sure that really matters a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. I'm queuing up some more rubber factories just so I can not have to trade for those things. It also looks like I'm going to be short on oil, so each oil refinery, though, only gives me +3, and they're relatively expensive compared to some of the other factories I can build. So I think I'm going to hold off on that, and we'll go ahead and queue up a few more civilian factories after we work on repairing infrastructure in Austria. So we're into July now. It's not going to be very long. I'm thinking manpower is going to definitely be an issue for me once I get into this war with Italy, so I think it's probably, unfortunately, time to change my conscription, which I guess I can't do right now. What I might need to do is real quickly start justifying a war against somebody like Russia or the US just to raise that world tension, and then I can make that change. So I think I'll do that right now and see what happens here. Actually, I might even, yeah, US is probably going to be the way that it's easiest to do that. So let's real quick justify a war goal on them and see what that does to... Oh yeah, 49%. That will definitely do the trick. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Zipped all the way over there. Look at that. Okay. Conscription law. Extensive conscription. Don't like having to do that, but unfortunately that's the reality of where I'm at right now. So then we'll undo that justification of war, and hopefully this will see my manpower start going up so I can replenish losses when I go to war with Italy. Alright, so that manpower is starting to go up. It's up almost to 50,000 now, and I actually have gone ahead and queued up my very first 2 new divisions in this whole campaign so far in 4 years. 2 armored brigades, so it's very little, but each one took about 5,000 more men. So I figured I could spare a little bit since I've got the weaponry sitting around for extra units, and hopefully we can get that manpower up to about 100,000 by the time we go to war with Italy. Well, while I'm preparing for war, I'm looking over my divisions, and I want to add a few things. I want to add a maintenance company to my armored brigades. I want to add, let's see, engineer companies. I think that'll be good too. And then my infantry, I'm going to go ahead and add hospital battalions. Field hospital, there we go. And those combat width's only 9. I can probably raise that up a little bit on these infantry brigades. We'll eventually get those up to 20, but we'll start there for now because I don't have a lot of army experience points to spend right now. But what I do have is plenty of production as far as what I'm building out there. So mostly just doing upgrades right now. Looks like military equipment now is going to need a little extra, and that'll continue to rise. So maybe we'll go ahead and shift some of my production over to that. All right, justification for war in Italy is complete. Let's take a look at this real quick here. Okay, so Italy's going to get an event where they can call for the EU to aid them militarily. So that's obviously a problem. I do not need the European Union jumping in on this thing. That's going to bring in all kinds of nations I can't deal with. So unfortunately, even though I've got that justification, I think I'm going to have to sit on that one for now and look elsewhere for my expansion in the meantime. And elsewhere probably means across the Mediterranean, because the Byzantine Empire also included a lot of this northern part of Africa here. So we're going to have to start looking at nations like Tunisia, for example, who has no ties to anyone. So I think that's probably where we're going to have to go next, unfortunately, which means going to have to fire up the Navy and get the process rolling for a naval invasion, which I guess will launch right over here from Sicily. We'll take the path of least resistance, the shortest area there. And then we've just got to hope for some way of adding some allies or getting Italy to leave the European Union. The way I might have to add allies is probably to ramp up world tension through justifications of wars I never intend to follow through on, and then we can go from there. And it looks like let's look at nations that aren't involved in anything and see what we would need in order to create a faction with them. Well, the main problem is just going to be friendships, but we'll have to find nations that might be willing to jump in on our side. So I'll figure all that out and get resorted and look for another invasion. All right, well, I'm not entirely sure what I was thinking when I was talking about invading from Sicily, since that's part of Italy and not part of my country. So we're coming down here, and we're starting to move the army down, and I've gotten my naval invasion orders in place. I've also started justifying against Libya. So we're going to land here so we can secure this naval base in Benghazi and march our way out from there. And so we've got the two armies preparing. We've got the naval power kind of securing naval supremacy in the region, which shouldn't be an issue over the Libyan Navy, if there is indeed one at all. And so now we just have to wait again for justification to complete. And for that, we're looking at April of 2005. So it shouldn't take all that long. Okay, here we go. Our justification for war against Libya is complete. It is time to declare. And it's time to get our footprint in Africa. We're going to launch this naval invasion. I've got air superiority, I've got naval superiority, and this should go off pretty much without a hitch, I would think. Let's look at their... Okay, they've got 200,000 manpower, so they've got a pretty comparable army in size to mine, but I don't think that's going to matter a whole lot. Let's go ahead and start attacking Benghazi. We've got to get Benghazi because that's got the naval base, and that's where supplies are going to flow in from across the from across the sea here. So far, that's not going as well as I would like it to. And the longer it lasts, the worse it's going to get because of lack of supply. So we've got to get in there and take Benghazi as quickly as possible. Come on, guys. Let's get this done. They're moving. They're just moving awfully slowly. Let's look at the losses so far. 161, 805 losses for Libya, so pretty small on both sides. And now he's starting to come at me from another territory, so let's go ahead and... Oh, it's not going to let me attack there because my lack of supply is making it impossible to move. All right, we're 98% on the landing here, so those 29 divisions are hitting Libya pretty hard. Pretty soon we should knock him out. There we go. Now we've got naval base. Now we can get some supply. Hopefully we can get a breakout from this spot here and start taking territory. It's always tricky when you're dealing with naval invasions because of the supply concerns, but so far so good. 18,000 losses on my side, 46,000 for him. We've already established a bit of an advantage in manpower of about 70,000. We'll just continue to allow that to grow, but right now my army's kind of stuck on the beach here, so to speak, just because of the lack of supply. So we've got to work on some things to deal with that. So I'm gonna try to alleviate the supply concerns and see if we can't get a push out from the beach here. We might have to look at a further naval invasion over to Tripoli to try and gain some supply there. I don't see any other naval bases that... Oh, there's one right here, so maybe that's a place we can go and kind of expand that supply base. Alright, so what I'm doing is I've queued up naval bases. The naval base is only a level 1 in Benghazi, so there's our issue with the supplies being able to flow in and out. So once we get that naval base up in construction, it'll take a month for each level. We're going to get it all the way up to 10. That'll gradually improve the amount of supply, because right now I can only support 11, and we've got 35 divisions there, so, or 30, the equivalent of 35. So every time we'll see what each level of the naval base does to help with that. So each level of the naval base looks like it's going to give me 3. So leveling that up all the way should support my entire army, but I've also started queuing up naval bases in the next territory over. So between those two, very quickly, within a couple of months, I should have my army supplied enough to break out and be able to take on the Libyan forces. Right now we've lost 19,000. It's not really going up at all. So we're just kind of at a stalemate right now, but we'll break out of there in a couple of months. Alright, well, between infrastructure and naval bases, we finally got up to 25, which is near where we need to be, but it was enough to get my army moving. So they've begun offensive operations once again. We're starting to break out from our beachhead in Libya, and hopefully this means the war ends sooner rather than later. Now, in the meantime, I had also been queuing up a justification of war against Tunisia, but that's probably going to expire before I'm in position to go ahead and go to war with them. So we're going to let that happen just because I need to keep my focus on Libya. But once I take Libya, that'll give me a base of operations for all of the rest of the fighting that I'll need to do in Africa. We've lost 45,000 men now, inflicted 83,000 casualties. I knew this would not be easy. But eventually the tide will turn and it'll get a lot easier. So hopefully that'll happen sooner rather than later. I've got about 145,000 available manpower left. Alright, it looks like the breakout has begun. I've started to isolate some of his divisions and will hopefully destroy them soon. I've lost 134,000 men, but I've inflicted over 200,000 casualties. He's down to just 82,000 in fielded manpower, while mine has stayed largely the same. But it just means I'm going to not have very much manpower left after this. But I think we should be in good shape. We'll destroy. There's 6 divisions over here that are about to go down. And then it's just a matter of taking the victory objectives. And this should be wrapped up, I would think, in the next couple of months. Well, this has been way tougher and way costlier than I wanted it to be. But we're in the last stages now. I've pretty much wiped out his army, but at the cost of 200,000 of my own men, which is pretty much all I had available to me. The good news is that we're seeing an additional amount of monthly recruitable soldiers, so hopefully that should replenish over time. He's only got 23,000 men left, so it's just really a matter now of getting reestablished as far as organization goes so we can finish moving forward. My average strength of my units that are over there, some of them are only 20% right now. Some are a little better, but it's not a good situation, so we just need to finish him off. Probably take Tripoli, and that'll be enough to end the war. We're into late August now, and we're in the home stretch. All of my forces are converging on Tripoli. We're just going to give them orders to go ahead and just march on in, finish him off. And you can see here I lost 200,000 men taking Libya, but it is done. We're going to take all states, and now we've got a base of operations in Africa, and we've also doubled the size of our territory and then some. So now we begin the process all over again of trying to build my manpower back up. I'm not entirely sure how much manpower is left out there, but we look toward the next steps, which I guess would be Algeria, Tunisia, or Egypt. Let's look and see who's got the weakest army. Tunisia's got a 300,000 man army. Are you kidding me? That's going to be tough to overcome. Hopefully they're not real well equipped. Algeria's got over 1 million. So we're looking at some really difficult tasks without help from allies. So I may have to switch to diplomacy at this point and look at allies that I can get to help me, because I'm not going to be able to do this on my own. We're looking at countries that are way stronger and more powerful than me, and I just don't have the manpower, even though economically I'm in a position now. So I'll start focusing on diplomacy for a little while, I guess. All right, I'm going to take my chances and ramping up for war with Tunisia. They're going to outnumber me, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to bust through that line with my superior firepower, my air superiority, and that will make up the difference. Very nearly rebuilt back up to strength, and by the time we get to June, when the justification's complete, I should be pretty well there. I've stopped producing new units. I'm putting everything into building up the strength of my existing 36 divisions. You can see my armored brigades are all up near about 90% now. Paratroopers are almost at 100. Infantry's almost at 100, so I think we'll be okay. I don't like the fact I've only gotten 20,000 free manpower, but gotta press on. All right, let's take our chances and see what happens. We've completed the justification for Tunisia, and so it's time to go to war once again. I'm a little nervous about this one. I know he's got a big army, and I'm hoping I can overcome that with technology and firepower. And it appears so far that is going to be the case. Now, whether or not that continues as I break through is anybody's guess, but so far so good. Let's look at the numbers. Oh, nice. This is going really, really well. Holy cow. So I guess it's not just... Why will it not let me click on the war to see what's going on? I don't know, but I'm going to win this really quickly. This is awesome. Either my estimates were really far off, or his manpower... I guess maybe that just counted the manpower he had in his country and not necessarily what he has in his army. So I guess I should have been looking at number of divisions rather than actual manpower, because, man, that went really well, really fast. So let's look at Algeria's actual divisions in the field, because I guess that's what we're concerned about. And it's only 14 to 18, even though they've got this huge amount of manpower. So, all right, so I guess I shouldn't be as afraid as I thought. Tunisia fell in a matter of weeks, just a couple of weeks. So we're going to turn our attention on Algeria now. And then let me look at Egypt real quick, because I'm expecting they have a larger army. Yeah, they've got 39 to 67 divisions. So we'll save them for a little while. We'll get Algeria and Morocco, and I think that'll be a good place to stop. So let's go ahead and take Algeria. And then we'll probably wrap up this episode after Algeria is taken out of things, and we'll have a nice start to our African part of the kingdom. But it's going to get really interesting when we start looking at who's left. Well, as I prepare for the invasion of Algeria, I've also started justifying against Morocco, and some good news popped up a minute ago, and that's that the UK has left NATO. I'm hoping that leads to further defections from NATO. Looks like France already left, and so really now Germany, Hungary, Turkey, and Canada are all that's left in NATO. So that's really good news. That means hopefully it won't be quite as tough going after Turkey once the time comes. I don't know, but I was counting on that at some point that would be the case. I got a ton of political power right now, over 1,000. And down here, encouraged enlightenment values is going to decrease my base war support, but it's going to improve my stability by 4%. And right now I could really use that additional stability. Oh, stability is 100. I guess it's war support that's at 52. So we're not going to do that anymore. We'd actually like to see war support get a little higher. But stability's maxed out at this point, so that's really good news. All right, we're a couple of weeks away from the invasion of Algeria. Okay, so here we go. We go to war once again. And now we march into Algeria, and I'm counting on this being a pretty quick one too. move some more air power into the region just to help out a little bit. Alright, we're marching quickly. If I can just get these guys maybe to just go straight to Algiers, this may be over sooner rather than later. We're about a week into this thing. I'm hoping Algiers is enough to finish it off. We'll find out pretty quickly. Manpower-wise, it won't let me look at the war. I don't know what's going on with that. Must be some kind of a glitch that it's not letting me click on the war right now. Oh, we got ourselves a little isolated here. That's not good. Happy New Year, 2008. Alright, we're into February now, and I've taken just about all the territory in the north, but not quite enough to finish the war yet. Let's see if we can move in on some of the desert regions down here. I don't know that that really makes any difference in terms of victory points, but I have taken his capital, and we've isolated most of his units over here in the mountains. I don't know where his new capital is now. Looks like it's remaining to be Algiers. Maybe this is the place we got to take, because there's an air base and a naval base here, and that might be what we're waiting on at this moment. I have no idea what the numbers look like because it won't let me click on the war to look at it, but I'm almost out of manpower. Right now I've got 220,000 in the field. Since I'm at war, I was able to change my conscription laws once again, so I've changed it to service by requirement, which should give me another boost to my manpower, though that's going to just as quickly go down from the losses that I'm taking in trying to finish off Algeria. I love the fact that the capital right now in Algeria is called Constantine, which is the name of my emperor, Constantine II, so that's perfect. Looks like we got a sandstorm here, and Algeria is finished. All right, perfect. So we're going to wrap this episode up right there while I regroup and prepare for the invasion of Morocco, which is going to finish off Western Africa as far as what I need. We are looking at July of 2008 for that, so just a couple of months away. But then we look at some of the big ones. We look at Egypt. Unfortunately, Israel is probably going to have to be a part of that. I have to double check and see what the Byzantine Empire actually controlled. But I'll probably start the next episode with that, just kind of reviewing where we're at. But basically, we've got to control most of the countries around the Mediterranean to finish this off. So as always, let me know your thoughts, your comments, your questions, your suggestions, your criticisms, any and all things. Use the comment section below. Please hit that thumbs up. Please subscribe. And we'll see you again next time in about a week. Thanks for watching.